In a world of remakes and remasters,
Are we playing for
what was once sacred and cool has now soured and become lame.
Red?
Gone are the days of Hans and Cowabunga. Now is the reign of slurp juice and dabs. Kids these days don't even know how bad they've got it. Now it's up to the best generation to rise to the occasion and make a show that dares to go where a lot of other nerdy shows have already gone quite a bit. That's right. They're going to talk about it a lot.
And welcome back to the stream. This is Best Generation. How's everybody doing?
Good. Tanner, it's good to see you again.
Yes, I'm back.
Well, if you're a returning viewer, we welcome you back. If you're new to the show, this is a show where me and my nerd friends complain about nerdy stuff, and any generation is welcome to join Best Gen, as long as you acknowledge that our generation is the coolest. So, I mean, no one else could invent Garbage Pail Kids. So, does anyone even remember those?
So as a child, I wasn't into them, but
I wasn't either.
Fun fact, the graphic novel Mouse, which has been making headlines lately.
Yeah.
The artist and author Art Spiegelman actually did a bunch of art for Garbage Pail Kids.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That is a weird piece of trivia for you to know. I mean, you were just talking about Mouse to me the other day, though, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Well, I teach English, and
Yeah.
we're actually studying that graphic novel. So I studied on his background and found out that he did art for Garbage Pail Kids. So,
well, that's super funny. I always forget to mention too. Any viewers, we welcome your chats. As my channel isn't even monetized yet, we can't even charge you for super chats. So if we'll try and read your messages if you're watching live, and you don't have to pay for them like most live shows make you do. You can get in on the ground floor. So if you comment 3 comments, and your friends each make 3 comments of their own, and then those friends, they all comment 3 times, pretty soon there will be lots of engagement.
That's lots of comments.
Today's episode, we are talking about Boba Fett Episode 5 and the first 3 episodes of The Legend of Vox Machina. I say we do Vox Machina first. What about you guys?
sure. It's your show. We're just along for the ride.
So, The Legend of Vox Machina just dropped on Amazon Prime. The first 3 episodes are out. They're doing them in 3 episode chunks. Did everybody watch it?
Yes.
I did, yes.
You sound disappointed.
A little bit.
I was not. I knew that it was an adult show because I've seen clips from Critical Role. I wasn't expecting like this level of adultness, and to me, it felt a little bit too raunchy. I'm not
Agreed.
a fan of cartoon nudity. First off, real nudity is much better. Okay, I'm married. I don't need to see cartoon stuff, right? Um, and but we can't. I did like the show just in general, but it felt a lot more raunchy than I was expecting, and I know that they do have a lot of dirty jokes on the original show, but it didn't feel like this much to me. I also don't want to because this clearly is not my fandom, I don't want to come into someone else's fandom and tell them to change everything. So
Right.
that's not the angle I'm coming at all. I'm just trying to analyze it from just a narrative perspective. I think what's happening here is because it's so condensed, right? Because they're taking an entire years long campaign and telling parts of that story on this. I think
Real quick, how many episodes? Do we know how many episodes they're doing?
I don't.
Okay.
But I mean, they're obviously going to get more than one season.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the at least in the original run, there's a couple dirty jokes here and there. But because it's so condensed, it felt like there was too much.
Right. And the thing is, you can do dirty jokes and have adult humor without being overly graphic and vulgar about it. And I felt like, especially the first episode, they were being raunchy just for the sake of being raunchy. There were so many F-bombs in there. There was that nudity scene. And it just felt like they were putting it in there for the shock factor. Like, oh, look, we're edgy.
Yeah, it kind of felt
the
like
other...
and I'm glad that they have full control over it, but it kind of felt like it was a little too much. They're like, oh, we can do whatever we want, and we're gonna do whatever we want, and they did everything they wanted to. And I don't mind, I don't mind more adult themes, a couple of dirty jokes. Yeah, no, it was more than a couple.
Yeah.
I don't mind adult oriented content. But there was so much packed into these 3 episodes that it often felt like it distracted from the actual plot of the story they were trying to tell, and kind of pulled me out a little bit.
I agree, and there's a way to do it tastefully too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way to do adult humor so it's not super overtly raunchy. You just get that adult humor in there and make a couple jokes, but you can do it a little bit more discreetly. And that's the kind of adult humor that I like more.
Well, and the best way to do it is you want when you want to put in jokes, you want it to elevate the story you're telling. And this is something, I mean, Tanner and I have done improv together for many years. Jared, you've done improv. We've never actually done it together. We always tell new improvisers not to tell I just completely forgot the term, a one-off joke.
Yeah, I describe it as as a rim shot joke. Like if you imagine a bottom after the joke, then you're not integrating it into your improvisation or your story in this case.
And it's not that jokes like that can't be funny. They are hilarious and they will get a laugh from the audience, but it's at the cost of the scene. There are often cheap laughs that you can get in a scene like that will be funny, but it often breaks the third wall and breaks the realism, and so you get a laugh, but at the cost of the story you're trying to tell. So we always try and influence and teach improvisers to keep the jokes, but have them integrated into the plot to elevate the story. That's kind of my only complaint about the show. I feel like that's its biggest flaw. I do have a lot of praise for the show too. There are a lot of things it is doing well, but I want to hear from you guys.
Tanner, it looked like you were going to say something.
I'll chime in first. I've played D&D for a few years now, and I haven't watched Critical Role either. The couple of times where
Mhm.
I have tried to watch it,
I've just seen a bunch of highlight clips.
yeah,
I
no,
haven't watched the full episode.
I've tried once or twice, and I like found a video, and it was like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, we're continuing our campaign, and the video was 4 hours long, and I was like, oh man, if this is 4 hours long, I probably missed 4 hours in the other one, and
Yeah.
it was hard to get into. So I was excited for this because I've heard such great things about it, and I think it's good. And I like you said, so I don't know much, and I don't want to criticize for people who are a part of this. Maybe you see a bit more, but in these first couple of episodes, all of the characters just felt like your classic D&D archetypes. Like you had the stupid barbarian, the horny bard.
A lot of them felt like cookie cutter archetypes of the class that they chose. Yes, the horny bard. Yes,
and that for me got a little bit kind of like I'd like to see some more complex stuff come in, but I would say by episode 3 it
hits its stride a little better.
Yes, there's more character development and there's more going on, and there is something to say that the stupid barbarian and the horny bard, it has its charm. And
there isn't anything necessarily wrong with not cliches. What's the softer version of tropes? There's nothing wrong with tropes if they are done well. If they're not done well, a trope will become cliche. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like you can have a dumb barbarian and have him be a good character. I just don't know if we've seen enough. I actually do like this comment a lot, and I think that might be the case of what's going on, because the first episode was a lot more than the last two. I felt like the first episode felt the most disjointed to me, and the other two kind of fell more into stride. Because and I would love to hear in the comments, if you're watching this live or if you're watching the VODs, I would love to hear input if you think that this is a good adaptation, because we don't know. We're just analyzing this if it's a good narrative. But if you've seen the show and if you've seen the new show, I would love to hear if you think it's a good adaptation from the original source material.
Yeah. Also, we've all played mind games. Is that correct, or are we?
Yeah, we've all done role playing.
Right. I was like, we've all done.
No one calls them mind games though. That's just a thing that our family does because our parents didn't like D&D.
I've never even heard that.
So when you say it's a Christensen, it's not a Bentley thing. When you say mind games, no one knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, role playing. Thanks for the correction.
Tabletop role playing games. Yeah,
tabletop. Because that's the thing. I'm like, I've definitely been looking at this kind of as, okay, we're adapting it from that sort of setting, right? Where this is clearly a role playing game that they're adapting, and I think. I was intrigued. Like, I definitely, I watched the first episode and I felt a little disconnected, maybe a little turned off because of some of the raunchiness. But at the same time, it was building the characters. It was sort of establishing, hey, that these guys are mess ups and they're just doing this for the money, right? Sort of thing. But I could definitely see these D&D character settings, right? Where I was like, oh, okay, they're going to kill the dragon. Okay, they get the reward. Oh, okay, there's this twist, right? So I'm definitely seeing this sort of D&D aspect to it. But I'm excited to see where the story goes and how they tell it, for sure. I definitely got hooked in the story and said, hey, yeah, I want to watch the next one and want to see where this goes. So
that brings up a funny point that I had because I'm trying to analyze the show as a narrative, but at the same time, I have a lot of significant experience in playing D&D. And the first episode, the first two episodes are kind of a prequel to what the show originally was, like stuff they did before they started streaming publicizing the show to an audience, and they find a dragon, and I'm just the whole time I was thinking, how are they fighting a dragon at level 1? They're just gonna die. But I'm like, obviously, like that the mechanical stuff is not going to work for a narrative, and so I have to pull myself out. And I'm like, but did they really do this? Did they actually fight a dragon at level 1 or 2? That's insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say I also, from my playing D&D background, I thought they portrayed like the combat and the different abilities well. Like
yeah, the combat's done really, really well.
Yeah, I agree.
They're already level 7 when they fight the dragon. Is this real?
Juice 1984, you tell us.
I don't know. Yeah, if you've seen the show, that'd be great. I don't know like what level they started their campaign on, but it went on for like at least like a couple of years. So
throw up that previous comment too. That answers your question.
Oh yeah. Okay. So far, it's been adapted well. It isn't beat for beat, but it does tweak things to be. I expect they have to tweak a lot of the narrative, and they're going to have to tweak a lot of the D&D stuff to make it make sense in a story. I mean, there's a lot of. And that brings up another question that I had. They asked the question in the opening scene. Oh, as they're like kind of talking to each other as they're thrown out of the bar, they're like, why are we even sticking together? We don't even like each other. And then they don't answer the question. I was like, no, I want to know, like, because that is a common problem when you're starting a D&D thing, is because you have all your players who want to create their own characters and they have ideas for the character that they want to play, and oftentimes it doesn't. You'll have characters that don't make sense why they're in your group, and you have to come up with some ridiculous story, arcs to like justify why your players are working together. Yeah. And I was like, no, please answer the question. Why are they together? I want to know.
I love that they didn't answer the question and left it open-ended, because that's exactly why. Because sometimes
they can't explain it. Because that's the thing about D&D that just never makes sense.
I will say,
things, yeah.
Yeah. I did like that it appears as if there are kind of
thank you
pairings. Juice 1984, thank you. They killed a dragon at level 5. Wow, I did not throw a dragon at my players at level 5.
No.
That's on the horizon though. Anyways,
then again, there's a lot more players. I've only
Yes.
played D&D with like 4, I think was the max.
Yeah. I guess if you have 7 people on your team, you could maybe take a dragon. I just know that level 1 you can get killed by a rat. And if this was a prequel, like I just assumed they were level 1. I'm like,
and this
what?
This is 5th edition D&D. If you've ever played original edition D&D, it was even more brutal.
Yeah.
Like you could die by stepping on a branch wrong or something. It was brutal.
Sorry, Tanner. I interrupted the scene
to
make a joke, and it broke the realism. So
that's all right.
So back to you.
I was gonna say with the
That's
why are
an
we
example of what not to do.
Yeah. Why are we together? That question was what I was talking about.
Yeah.
They do. It seems as if they've got pairings within the group, like you have the brother and sister,
your brother and sister,
Pike and the barbarian. It's implied by the opening credit sequence and their interactions that they previously worked together, and then
I didn't catch on to that, but
the other
you're
three,
probably right.
The other three, though, it's like they're kind of the outcasts, and so but like Percy, who is quickly becoming my favorite character, I think, because he's got the most mystery around him.
Yeah.
He's obviously lost his station and his money, and now it's like he's got to do something, and better to work in a group that. So like I can see that there are reasons why some of them would be together, but I think that's part of it too, is bonding and coming together as a group and becoming a team. And we saw that in the dragon fight where they're like, let's do what we do best, and then they're arguing, but they use it to their advantage, and then they work together as a team. And
the dragon fight was really cool. I think just crafted really well, the action. it was a little strange to me though how the dragon was finished off, because like all of their weapons were bouncing off of him, and then they open up a weak spot, and then the barbarian chops its head in half, and I was like, but you couldn't do that before.
Yeah,
But,
you couldn't even land
the
a
weak
hit.
spot.
You're just dodging all your attacks, and then all of a sudden.
But that's episode 2.
Fine,
Talking about episode 1. I liked that there was a nice song to introduce all the characters.
Yeah,
and it was done. It was done like in character. I thought that was really clever to like, hey, this is this, and he's moody and this and this. And I wrote it all down. So we've got Scanlan, who's a bard. We've got Grog, who's the barbarian. Keyleth is the druid. And then Vex is the ranger who has the bear as a friend, who's Trinket. And then Vax,
actually Vex.
Huh? Vax is a rogue. And then Pike is a cleric, and then you have Percy, who plays a gun. And he was the only one that wasn't clear to me until episode 3, when you get into. I was like, I'm liking all of these characters, and I really have no idea why Percy is here at all. But then episode 3 really fixes that.
Yeah, I agree.
So
it's a spoiler about why they're together. Okay, all right.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Well,
so my general thoughts, as I finished the first episode, I was kind of discouraged because I thought it looked like a fun show, but it was just kind of like Tanner said, it was kind of the stereotypical cliche D&D characters, and then I didn't like all the overt raunchiness and the nude scene, but and I watched it with my wife too, which didn't help things.
She just starts saying, what is this? What is this filth? This smut you're making me watch.
But I'm glad I decided to watch the second episode, and I said, okay, if there's another like raunchy, overt nude scene, I don't know if I'm going to watch it anymore. But the second and third episodes were really good, and grabbed me back in. And I think, do you want to talk them episode by episode or?
There's not a whole lot to talk about in episode 1, but you can skip ahead.
I wanted to give an example because the first episode I didn't like the nudity in that one, right? But then there was another part. I think it was in episode 2, I think, where they come across the pinup picture.
Oh
painting. Yeah, I thought that was done very tastefully.
That scene was good.
First off, it wasn't full on frontal nudity, but it played into the story.
Yes,
they found the secret passage
joke, exactly.
Because
that's a good example of how to do it.
Yeah, that's a perfect example, and I love that. And
it was a chance for a funny joke, and then it progressed the story, and it served a purpose. Yes,
yeah,
that
was perfect.
Thanks for bringing that up. I don't think I would have remembered to make that connection.
I forgot about that part too.
But yeah, that is how you want to make those jokes. Yeah, so and I think. The biggest problem with the first episode is because they're making all these jokes. It's not only like breaking the realism and it doesn't really serve the story. It also like really messes with the tone for me. Because it felt like, and especially with the opening of episode 2, where just like everyone just dies and gets slaughtered. They're jumping like at a breakneck speed between like Game of Thrones, anyone can die, and then making weird, making jokes, which obviously it's adapted from a D&D group, and anyone who's played it knows that that's how it feels. You'll be in this broody, as hard as the DM may try to make the scenario dark and depressing and dreary, like your players are going to be cracking jokes the whole time. And then you have the beads, the beads of love. That was it. That was an interesting song, but it's there's a little tonal disconnect for me that with the humor, it's trying to kind of have its cake and eat it too, with show that anyone can die, but also like the main characters are untouchable and they can fight a dragon and not die, but then regular people will just get slaughtered, and then they're going to be cracking jokes, and then the next scene, a family with 2 kids is going to get killed, and they're going to want to make you feel bad about it. So I don't think it's impossible to live in both of those worlds. but it's a really hard to balance, and I don't think it was balanced well in the first episode. I think they do it much better in episodes 2 and 3. I really liked the ending of episode 1 with Scanlan, whose character I really hadn't liked at all in the first episode until the very end, where he starts playing on his guitar, and it's like, what are you doing? I'm just trying to think of a word that rhymes with dead dragon. And I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah,
that was a really cool moment.
That was a good line.
Yeah, he's like, because we're obviously gonna have to kill it.
Yes, I know the main characters are untouchable, but I'm analyzing this as a narrative. Okay, I know it's adapted from D&D, and so there's going to be difficulties, but
we'll see. But that's what I was saying earlier, is that like I am enjoying the show.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I'm like, this is definitely a D&D. Like this is totally based off of a D&D role playing scenario, because that's just how you play. So
hey, I'll have you know that I just finished playing a campaign where my character was killed how many times, Tanner?
Oh yeah, can I tell him your character?
First off, I'm a genius. Okay,
it was
Tanner. Take it away.
It was a So I DM'd a nautical kind of pirate-esque themed campaign, and Alan came to me with this idea for a character, and he said, I would like to play a gnome paladin. It was a gnome, right?
Yes, a paladin gnome.
And he said, but this is the thing. I don't want to just play one gnome. I want to play an entire village of gnomes who are dedicated to one god. And when one dies, there is a line of succession for another one to take it over. And he was like, only if you're okay with that can we do it.
Who was my god?
No, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, sure thing. And he was like, okay, now I want the god to be another player character. And it was our buddy Lyons, who, if you watch the Couch Party episodes, he's in there, one of our improv friends. And so when he said that, I was like, yes, please do that. That is hilarious. And it actually turned into...
It was so good.
Yeah.
So, the premise was that this character had come to my village of gnomes and saved a relic that had been stolen and brought it back to the village. And that fulfilled a prophecy that had been written years, ago about how the savior will, and so I wrote tons of lore. I wrote rhyming. I wrote rhymes and ancient passages, and there was another character from the village who I wasn't explicitly playing, who had like tomes of these prophecies that he had collected, and so we were slowly sharing those with the group, and I would make them up on the spot too. Like during the session, Jason's character would do something, and I would write a prophecy that he just fulfilled retroactively.
That's funny. I know we're kind of tangenting from it, but another great moment was so Alan was like, kill my characters. So
yeah, because
I would be
die, the next person in line takes the position of the protector.
That's genius.
He played a new character almost every session. And one of the best ones that I loved was he took a different route and had one person come in that was kind of a zealot within the religion, who believed that they had to kill the God character in order to fulfill a prophecy.
Because the Christ character has to be sacrificed, and so he had a different interpretation of the prophecies, and I left hints the entire time that these things are, we don't know 100% what it means. And so his interpretation was, no, this person isn't going to save us. He has to be killed or the world will end. And it was,
so we had a session where just in the middle of it, Alan's character kidnapped Jason's character, and then the rest of the party had to go fight
set up a ritual sacrifice, and there were a handful of other gnomes who were also part of that sect.
All right, I'm calling it now. You need to start a crowdfunding campaign for Tex-Mex Machina. We'll make a show out of your campaign. That sounds awesome.
Honestly, the campaign was really good. There were a lot of like really emotional beats. So.
Yeah. So
and it was a total joke. Like
yeah,
but like made it super good.
We referred to our group as Pirate Patrol because I made a group of goblins playing a card game, kind of like Calvin Ball, where they don't know the rules and they make it up as they go. Yeah. And I was like, oh, in this world, there's trading cards of different pirate captains, and it's a little collectible card game. And so we called it Pirate Patrol. But then it turned like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but we had some good emotional beats, and it was exciting. So
it was fun. It was one of the best campaigns I've ever played in.
I think that talks about why I think Vox Machina and Critical Role could be so endearing is D&D is a fun game, and not only is it fun and funny, but you can get some strong emotional beats. So if anyone's watching and hasn't played D&D before, try it out because it's good.
Yeah, you gotta have good friends to do it with too.
That's true.
But you can also find random strangers to play with online, and that can also work. And then you'll make new friends. And Critical Role is largely, not solely responsible, but they definitely helped in this mass popularization of D&D 5e specifically, like D&D, like just nerd culture in general. They are hugely, they influenced that like change of opinion pretty great. I'm struggling with the words right now, but the Wizards of the Coast have worked with them to like do, I think there are some like books that are like official that they were homebrewed by them. I'm not 100% sure about that.
I think there's a book with their setting,
and they have like classes that they made too. Yeah.
Can I talk to Juice 1984? Your comment, if George R.R. Martin can kill off main characters in a great narrative, like, can others use that narrative structure? Definitely can. And I'll say, in the combat I've seen, with D&D, we think, oh, the player characters are a bit more untouchable or stronger than the others. I felt some of the stress that you feel when you're in combat in D&D, and in a world where you can heal people by magic, that kind of that risk kind of goes away a little bit, but I still felt that stress. And the animated blood and people getting injured, and Pike being like, oh man, I'm too, in episode 2 when she heals up Grog and then can't save the kid,
right.
The consequences of spell slots. I think they do really well. And I think there's still that, that risk, even though we come to associate PC characters as being almost untouchable. So
yeah, I actually really like that scene. That's a great example because you're like, oh shoot, if we hadn't healed him, then they could have saved them, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's largely what got me to keep watching, because I wasn't loving episode 1 until the ending scene. I was like, okay, this has potential. I want to rhyme thinking of a rhyme for a dead dragon after that. Just really, that was a great line.
And I gotta say, I think with that, that's I think why I kept watching, is because I can see what Tanner's talking about, is that like there's going to be this emotional depth to it that I think will be interesting to see how they play with that. I mean, especially since they're also comedians, right? So a lot of it's going to be comical, but at the same time, they're going to try to put in this sort of emotional weight. So I'm interested to see how they pull that off.
They also do have the advantage of, like, most of the story's already been written, right? All they have to do is adapt it, and in that adaptation, you can condense things and you can make things. They'll probably have to change a lot of the story beats to better serve the medium, but I think that's very much to their advantage in not like something to be worried about. Like I think it as a whole, it has the opportunity to come off even greater than their original show because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would imagine. I mean, I'm not familiar with the source material other than a few clips here and there, but I imagine adapting something like this is a lot more forgiving than adapting a book.
Oh yeah,
because a book is set. You got the words. You know exactly the story and everything. But D&D is there's a lot of flex in there, and especially with how long and how much material there is. If they just pull from all their experiences and just mesh something together, I think it's harder to disappoint the fans.
And what they can do,
of the show.
and what I think they are doing is, like, I'm after the end of episode 2, like, I'm largely expecting that this is what's going to happen. The show can easily become like a monster of the week kind of thing.
Yeah,
because they have a base, right? They can go on an offshoot adventure and come back, and that will lead. That lends really well to the episodic nature of television in general. They can have a story arc that lasts 4 episodes, and then have another story arc that's completely disjointed, right? Obviously, if you're doing like a serialization kind of thing, or sorry, the serialization is the opposite of episodic. If you're doing an episodic thing, you take like the TV show Monk, right? Each episode is a standalone thing, but you do have slight tidbits of an overarching story going on, and that's what they're going to be doing with the Whispered One, who is Vecna, I think, right? Pretty sure I got that right. Huh? Who's the big bad? Who's gonna, but well, I don't know.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting though, because they released the first 3 episodes right at once. And the first 2 episodes, they lead right into each other. They're both dealing with the dragon. But I thought it was odd that they tacked on the 3rd episode, which kind of ended on a cliffhanger. And so I thought that was an interesting choice.
I'm excited. I liked the cliffhanger. I thought it's got me wanting to come back.
Yeah.
Well, it gives you a full arc with the 2 episodes and then sets up the next one.
Right.
So,
what do you guys think of the animation style?
I think the animation is great. Like Arcane is the standard though. Arcane is beautiful. This is also beautiful. It's a completely different art style. It's done very, very well.
I liked the drawing and the drawing style and everything. I don't necessarily like the animation. I think there were too little frames between movements, so some of the movement was very jittery. And that was kind of the style they were going with. That's not my favorite style. I don't like, like another thing, for example, they have a still picture and then just their hand and their mouth are moving. That's a typical animation trick. You don't want to have to reanimate everything. I don't mind that. What I didn't like so much is the jitteriness of it. And most of the scenes it was fine, but there's just a couple scenes where just everything was moving too fast, and I just didn't like the jitteriness. So I forget what they call it. There's a term.
Frame rate?
It's frame rate, but it's for animation. It's like animation. They're animating on seconds or something like that. I forget the term.
It's frame rate for animation. Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's related to the frame rate, but yeah. Anyways, but it was good. It was just it's not my favorite style of animation. The drawing is fine and it's beautiful, but the actual animation between frames is not my favorite.
Okay. I liked it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think making the dragon 3D, good narrative touch, kind of made it otherworldly.
Mm-hmm.
But also one of the first times where like a 3D animated element within a 2D heavy animation where it looked okay.
Yeah. It's done pretty well in
The Last Prince.
The Dragon Prince.
Oh, the Dragon Prince. Yep, the Dragon.
Which is the guys who did Avatar. Some of them are working on
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the same thing, a blend of 2D and 3D. It's done pretty well on that. But it can easily look bad, and it didn't in this.
Agreed.
To me.
They did it pretty good.
I had problems initially with the Dragon Prince's animation. The first couple of episodes,
first season was not as good.
Animation
wise,
it took a bit to adjust to. But with Vox Machina, I think I like it. I think the choppiness might lend to the chaotic nature of a D&D campaign.
I want to talk about the narrative a little bit. It was pretty obvious to me that General Krieg was the bad guy.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. But like I thought that was I saw it coming and not because it was done poorly, because it was done well. Like it was they kept hinting that the Drow, the Dark Elf, was the influencer.
Yeah.
But every time that happened, the other guy was in the same room, and I thought that was a really good narrative choice. I also thought the reveal happened like way too soon.
And then they killed him off.
yeah. And it was David Tennant, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know
that might
I was I liked it. It was good, but I'm like, it felt like it was moving way too fast, and I get it. Like they have to move through a bunch of stuff. But I mean, David Tennant, you brought him on, and then you just killed him off immediately.
that might be.
He could have been an awesome recurring villain. Maybe bring him back to life. I don't know, because it's David freaking Tennant.
I mean, his head was kind of pretty smashed in.
I don't know. You can if you have a diamond, you can do the revivify. That's a spell.
I think possibly the cost of David Tennant might have been why he was only in 2 episodes.
Bingo. Yeah.
So
they're like, you only got 1 episode, bro. Like that's all we can afford. Sorry.
Yeah, but I totally called it that he was the bad guy, and that was a good thing, not a bad thing.
Real quick on David Tennant note, I actually was watching this new show that's called Around the World in 80 Days with David Tennant. It's pretty good. Just
whoa. Where's that at?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Huh.
It was really good.
Is it from based on the novel?
That's the one with Jackie Chan in it, right?
And Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No, it's not. It doesn't have Jackie Chan in it.
He was in the movie version, right?
Yeah, the
he
movie
was in the
awful.
movie. The movie they made.
Man,
it's pretty good. I've really enjoyed it. And David Tennant, he really is. He's a star.
Yeah,
really good.
I think his greatest work, one of the best things he's ever been in, like blew me away. Some of the best acting I've ever seen. The DuckTales reboot. Just so much. Yeah,
he does the voice.
He does Scrooge in the DuckTales reboot. I say that kind of jokingly. David Tennant is a fantastic actor.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to check out that Around the World in 80 Days because I am a sucker for classic literature adaptations and also for David Tennant. So
just watch one with Jackie Chan in it. There's already an adaptation. Why do we need 2?
Yes, there is. But this is an episodic. It's an episode.
So it's like a different country each day.
Kind of, yeah. Like for example, they started in London and then they went to Paris and then they went to they were going from Paris to somewhere else.
They go to China to pick up Jackie Chan.
Yeah, and then they're headed over to India on this one. So yeah, or the last one I watched. But
that sounds interesting. I might give it a try.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have time.
I know, right? That's the problem.
I mean, do you have time for David Tennant though?
Okay, that's a good point.
We always make time for David Tennant.
So is he the main character in the balloon?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Who plays the girl though?
I don't. She's not. So it's a new actress that I've.
Is she hot?
She is attractive. Yes,
okay. I'll give it a shot.
Lenny Bensnit.
Never heard of her.
Yeah, she's pretty attractive, but and then they also but I mean, besides that, I think they've got some pretty believable characters, and they've been able to tell a story pretty well. So yeah, definitely recommend it. It's sorry to get us off track again, but it's like David Tennant. I had to make a plug for him because.
Well, hey, it wouldn't be a show of Best Gen if we hadn't added another thing to watch to the list.
Yeah. Well, thinking about that, we're probably losing our memories too, right? So it's just like, oh yeah, and then this, and then
yeah. I add them to the watch list, and then I'm like, I'll get around to that one.
yeah.
There's so much to watch these days. It's crazy. Yeah.
Have we talked Killing the Dragon?
I had a couple of things to mention. I liked the joke with the lance of dragon slaying.
Oh yeah,
because that's very much a D&D thing. Where like, oh, you have the lance of the weapon of the solves your problem.
Oh, we can't afford that. Yeah. Yeah.
Plus the sword of +2 plot convenience. It's a very common trope, and I thought that was a good way to make fun of it and be like, "Oh man, if only we could have that lance." But and also the whole like the riddle thing felt very D&D to me. And that was a nice little nod of like, "Oh, it's where the two rivers meet," and but that's his thing on his neck.
Yeah. I agree.
That just felt like a very classic, D&D riddle thing. It was good. The Tusk Love book, I think, is one of their recurring jokes. It's like their saucy romance book that was in that shop as well. Yes. And then the reveal happened way too soon, and David Tennant's gone, and I'm upset about that. Oh, and then I have a note here: why not grab the evidence? Because they're talking to the guy. He's like, "Oh, this evidence will prove that this guy's the bad guy," and then he gets killed, and then they just like leave, and I'm like, "No, go back and get this."
Yeah.
Take his bag. Take his bag with you. Like,
well, they believed him though, so right, they go back.
Yeah, but
and like, oh, this
if
guy
you've ever played D&D, the characters knowing someone is bad is never enough. You have to prove it to the magistrates, okay? And then you'll go and you'll have a conversation. This is the bad guy. He's ruined all your stuff. I'm like, well, there's no evidence of that. We're going to put you in jail instead. Come on, that's just a classic. That's a classic D&D. You got to bring evidence.
They did find his.
They just
secret.
killed him though, so that
Yeah.
Solve the problem.
And there's the secret basement filled with all kinds of dragon paraphernalia. So like, kind of easy if they kill the dude to be like,
even
look,
then,
we
if
can
you say,
bring
hey,
you to the mansion.
Even then, if you go up to the king and you're like, hey, I killed your right hand man because he was bad, he's probably going to flip out if you don't have evidence.
Yeah.
Well,
and maybe because the king just kind of went along with everything, so maybe there's some sort of plot that's going to roll out with that, but
he was
not easy to persuade, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that also maybe in the campaign they rolled some really good charisma checks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that pretty much sums up episode 2. I like Grog a lot in that episode. He was fun. The barbarian. And then episode 3 starts the Briarwood arc, and I knew it. Maybe it's just because like we're playing through Curse of Strahd right now, but I knew it was going to be vampires. So
it was pretty obvious when they showed up in the carriage and ripped the guy's heart out.
But I knew before that. They saw the carriage. I was like,
okay,
it's gonna be vampires, and then did the thing. It's vampires, baby.
Yeah,
you're so smart, Alan.
I'm so smart. I get everything right. Thanks for noticing that, Tanner.
I did like the shot when they
you moved me.
Oh, come on.
Oh, you should have put me at the bottom because I was being sarcastic because you always do this.
Oh,
you're always like, oh, I knew 5 seconds before the big reveal. I called it, and you think you're so clever.
I am pretty clever though. Like I've been doing this for a long time in long form improv. We have to come up with character arcs on the spot, like every night. I I'm pretty good at predicting plots, but that's beside the point.
I did like that shot reveal though when they walk by the mirror, and then he's not in the mirror, of course. So that was cool. It was well framed,
and then we finally get to know like a little bit more of Percy, who like had no character. I was like, I know who everyone is, and Percy, he's playing a gun. That's all I know. I liked it.
I am intrigued as to because Percy's class. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's a homebrew class.
Yeah, I think it is, but like it's pretty cool. It might be just because I like Plague Doctor.
Yeah, with the Plague Doctor mask, I don't know what that is, but I was like, oh, he's not just a gun. He's got like smoke magic, I guess.
I thought it was cool too that his colleagues are like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, the fact that
like,
they didn't know too was definitely
another
element. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
when the flashbacks first started happening, I thought it was the brother and sister. I thought it was Vex and Vax, and then his sister gets killed. I was like, oh, okay, it's not them. It's Percy. Okay.
Yeah, I think I thought the same thing.
Yeah,
that was a lot of people slaughtered in that montage. But yeah, it was good. I'm excited to see what comes next.
Oh, and then the rogue did some sneaking around, and he did the illusion thing with his snake. So it's a playful playful trickster, right? Is the subclass arcane trickster? That's the one. Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, he's probably playing that class of rogue because I'm a nerd. And vampires have their Jedi powers, and
they're not both vampires.
The question I had was in episode 2 with the Bard character. Is he multi-classing with it? Because he's kind of got like mage hand. I didn't know if that was. I couldn't remember
I've never played a bard before.
A bard spell with a giant hand that could throw people. Of course, mage hand can't do that. It can't lift things that heavy. But like that's the closest thing I could think of. Maybe that was a homebrew spell. I don't know. Let me know if you know what that spell was.
Yeah. When that happened, though, my wife was like, "Oh, he's not useless."
Bards are fun to play. Yeah. Okay. They are not useless, but they are support characters. Another like small like negative of the show is that it's a big task to balance such a large cast of characters, and so like there are a couple of them that I don't really care about yet, and that's obviously going to have to come with time. But I do like a few of them, and like that's enough for now to be invested in the show.
There's obviously not enough character development because they've only had 3 episodes,
and there's 7 main characters.
7 main characters, yeah. But as far as the combat, I think they've been doing a really good job of giving all of them their time to shine. They're equally distributing their contributions to the fights. Aside from the bard in this last one, he was just I guess he was
in
still
a different scene.
Yeah, he was doing the distraction. He was still contributing, I suppose, but
he was in a different room.
Yeah,
that was the joke. Is that
But I mean, again, that's very typical of D&D. It's like, I'm going to distract these guys over here. You guys go and find out what's happening, and then shit hits the fan. And yeah.
I think that like the tiny like reveal of the Whispered One as like an overarching villain was cool. And
did I miss that?
Yeah,
it was in the journey. It was in the journal that the rogue went into the room.
Oh, okay.
And he was trying to figure out what they were doing, and there's a picture of the Whispered One, and I looked it up, and that's Vecna, who's like the big bad at the end of the show.
Okay, so I think my dog might have been jumping in my face.
Yeah, because he was like skimming through that real quick, so he was just like looking through the journal to try and find.
But he says the line too, like, "What's this? The whispered one?"
Oh, okay. So that makes more sense. If these guys are going to be the big bads for the entire arc of season 1, that makes a lot more sense why they would come out with the 2 episodes at first, introducing us to the characters with the dragon, and then the third.
But they also hinted
introducing
that the dragon could have been part of a bigger plan.
Yeah.
Working for probably the whispered one too. I don't know. I liked his thirsty blade, Strahd.
That was
cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it'll get to a point where the sword's too big, though, right? It's gonna be hard to swing around.
It's not the size of the sword; it's how you use it. But
it's hard to. If it's too big, it's hard to use.
That's true. That could be a tactic they use in the future. Just
stab yourself on purpose so the sword gets too big.
Yeah, or some innocent victims accidentally on purpose.
I've never used a big sword, so I can't say anything to that.
Well, at the end when it like split, so it became a sword and then it like diverted too. So maybe it'll like get spikes or something like that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But
I also thought it was a good way to introduce like the villains of the season was to just have the heroes just get spanked, because then they're going to be mad and want to fight back. It's good.
Yeah.
And I liked how Percy's got like an uncontrollable like rage, like where he just like loses it and like was just willing to just smoke that guy. It was cool. I thought it was a good way to set up on it. I'm excited for next Friday/Thursday afternoon.
Yeah. I also thought too at the end where they immediately get arrested. It was very D&D-esque. You could be, in good favors with the king, and then all of a sudden you do one bad thing, and you're like, "Oh, off to the dungeons."
And the bad guys brainwashed the king too.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
Well,
so that's also why that happened.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
And they're the rogue too. So he was
the what?
The rogue guy, Vax or Vex, whichever one he was.
Oh yeah, they brainwashed him too.
Yeah.
Was he not? He wasn't in the fight at the end, was he?
He jumped out the window and then he was.
Oh yeah, he jumped out the window.
I think he was just in the pool the whole time. I don't know.
I think they tried to brainwash him and it didn't work for some reason. I think it succeeded his charisma check.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. I was kind of thinking too that maybe because as soon as they brainwash him, it actually cuts away, right? So it shows that they're brainwashing him, but then it cuts away. So I'm kind of like, are they showing it to say, oh, like he's still brainwashed, or he's like, what did they tell him to do, right? Like they didn't ever tell him or show.
We'll have to see in future episodes what happens.
For me, mechanically, it looked like they tried to cast a spell on him, and he succeeded the check.
Yeah, jumping out the window, I think, was a sign that he was like, "Hey, I'm in over my head." He wasn't directly under their control, and so
I agree.
He got out of there so that he could do it, and then they chased him down into the courtyard, and that's where the group met up and saved his bacon because he was already pretty messed up.
Mm-hmm. It was cool. I'm excited for more. I think it has a lot of potential.
Can I just say, I think it's funny. When last week we said, hey, we probably won't have that much to say on it because it'll be, hey, that's good. And we've spent a whole hour talking about it.
Yes, we have.
That's true.
Well, Tanner doesn't like to shut up, so.
I mean, that's not funny. No.
Yeah, you're right. He's not.
I could hit leave right now. I could just.
You guys want to talk about Boba Fett now?
You mean The Mandalorian season 3, episode 1?
So I wasn't the only one.
Sorry, did I say that wrong?
Yeah, see, I thought my TV was broken because I pushed Boba Fett and I got a sneak peek of Mando season 3.
I thought this was Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett episode 5. Did you guys not watch that?
That's definitely what I watched.
Oh,
Like I said, that's what I tried to watch, but my TV played something different.
oh,
Well, actually-
wait. That wasn't Boba Fett in the episode.
Wait, did you record over it or something, Dave? Like,
I guess no. I guess I'm
Yeah,
probably.
T-vote.
I know what it is, guys. They all look the same to me.
oh,
So
they do, yeah.
Hey,
You're
not,
not racist
all.
against the Mandalorians.
Not all
I'm
Mandalorians
face
look the
blind
same.
when it comes to Mandalorians. I'm a little bit racist. Of course, you can't see their face. That doesn't help.
Yeah, I really like this episode. I really
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah, I really liked this episode because Boba Fett wasn't in it.
I know, right? I was like,
Yeah.
I really like this episode. Why? Oh, because it was a Mandalorian.
Exactly. I same here. I was like, this is a really good episode, and then I realized that Boba Fett has not been a star in his show.
No.
Like the only thing he did by himself was, hang out with the Tusken Raiders and rob a
Get
train.
them all
Everything else,
killed.
yeah, got them all killed. Everything else has been Fennec Shan. She's done everything for him. She's
Yep.
gotten all the cool
who
moments.
was at the end of this episode? Fennec.
Fennec Shan again. And it's like Boba Fett's not even in his show. It's like, let him do something cool, dang it.
He had the one scene in the bar that didn't really make sense narratively, but it was a cool fight scene.
Yeah, that fight scene was awesome. That's the only cool thing Boba Fett has done.
Boba
Pretty
Fett
much.
is trying to star in his series with respect. So he's giving everyone else the time to be on center stage.
No, they did talk about it on set. He gave some of his lines that were written for him to Fennec,
Really?
which is it doesn't make any sense.
Tamir Morrison did? The actor?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I don't know why.
That's weird. I don't like that choice.
Mm-mm.
I mean, that's cool that he's being humble, but I mean, it's his show. Like, it's got to be about Boba Fett, you know?
Yeah, you would think it's his book.
Right.
No, I take that back because the book of Matthews is all about Jesus.
That is true. That's a valid point.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing too. I hate.
Wait, so is Mark. So is the book of Mark.
And
And
what was that?
John.
Other one? John, yeah.
Those
John-
are all about Jesus.
John is
Fennec
probably
Shan is Jesus.
Book of John is probably the most Boba Fett-esque because he's like, okay, so there was this disciple that Jesus really loved.
Wow.
One of his disciples was his favorite.
Not gonna say who.
Started with a J though.
And what have we got? Judas and John? I wonder.
Yeah.
And one of them stabbed him in the back. So
Wow.
But yeah, I really don't like the name of the show, Book of Boba Fett.
it's not a
It's
book
just-
either.
The-
Why is it a book?
Yeah. I think it should have been called like the House of Boba Fett or something. Or,
That's probably
because that's what he's doing. He's building his own house.
Is he?
But
Is he though?
that's
They
what
adopted-
They keep
he's
saying
doing.
that's what he's doing, but
Yeah.
he's got 4 teens and 2 green boys.
He adopted them.
And a
They were
Wookiee and an assassin.
And the
Does all of his
Mandalorian.
dirty work, and now the Mandalorian.
Oh, okay, he's got 2
like
assassins.
And a Rancor.
Right.
But
This is-
anyway,
it's definitely like this maybe could have been like a 4-part spin-off special, and I think that's maybe what it was designed to be. Like it's like
Or
They're-
maybe just a movie.
yeah, they're like trying to put it out as because this episode was it was the Mandalorian. It had the soundtrack, it had the tone, it had the characters, and then the end it was like, oh man, it was almost like a Marvel post-credits scene where it's like, hey, we need you to come, we need you for the Boba Fett initiative.
Yeah.
And
you're right. That's exactly what it is. It's a post-credit scene setting up for the season finale for the last 2 episodes, the big showdown.
The thing is, This was by far the best episode of this show.
Yeah.
But that, even taking that into account, it wasn't even a good Mandalorian episode.
I disagree with you there.
It is very mediocre. Nothing
first,
happens.
The first half is amazing.
It's all exposition. I liked it because it was a breath of fresh air. Because it was sitting next to a pile of garbage. Okay, but if you actually analyze the episode and think, oh, this is episode 1, nothing really happens. It's an exposition dump, and I really liked hearing about the exposition because we knew what Mando wanted. Right. We knew his desire and his goal, and so I was willing to put up with the exposition, and it answered a lot of questions. But typically, you want to give exposition in an exciting way, and this was not done at all. It was just, hey, this is all the information. There's going to be a little fight scene, and then here's a bunch of Easter eggs at the end of the episode.
That might have been. I think that might have been why this episode was in the Book of Boba Fett, because
it's not really a good episode.
Yeah, but it also is a way to. I think I really I enjoyed it. I was engaged with it.
I did too. I enjoyed it.
My phone down,
but narratively, it's not great.
I disagree with you.
So Alan, I'm kind of thinking Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive.
Yeah,
he has the main books, but then he also had a series of novella
to set up the characters outside of the story. That's what it felt like. Yeah,
that's what it was. And I think if you want to do that somewhere, if they were like, this is the premiere season 3 episode 1, you would get people like you being like, oh, it wasn't that good, but they put it in Boba Fett, and
that's
it's a way for them to.
But
it's a way for them
to. Even in those
to
novellas, there is a plot. There is a story. There really is no plot to this episode.
Yeah, there was.
I definitely enjoyed it. The entire episode was just Easter eggs and pointing at things. Hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? Hey, remember this?
No, you're absolutely wrong. We find out so much lore. We find out his motivation going backwards. His standing with the Mandalorian. You sit down in a
classroom. You go and sit down in class, and you learn about lore. Then you have a fight scene, and then the second half of the episode is a bunch of Easter eggs and nods.
Yes, but it was interspersed with action. He had
now
this is pod racing scene
in the middle.
Yeah, that part I was like, episode 1.
There was one action scene. There was exposition, action scene, Easter eggs. That was the entirety of the episode.
The entire episode started off with one of the best action scenes when he comes in and slaughters all those people.
There was a cold open action scene, exposition dump, silly action scene, and then Easter eggs.
I gotta say though, I am excited for him to use that saber.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. When I was watching this episode, I was like, this is gonna be so cool. Mandalorian with this dark saber.
I think
legit.
I think I see the disconnect here, and if I can chime in, we seem to be looking at this episode as it will fit into the larger Mandalorian story, whereas Alan, you're just seeing it for the episode as itself.
Yes,
I think
it sets up a lot of good stuff. Yeah. It itself doesn't do a lot of good stuff.
Well, I think it's meant to catch us up, right?
Yeah, if it's setting up good stuff, is that not doing good? You have to maybe have some slow parts.
You can
for
have
a better
setup.
Payoff later.
You can give exposition in a way that is exciting.
I liked it. I thought it was good. I think the characters carry the exposition. Them talking about, him coming in and catching the other 2 Mandalorians from his tribe up. I think that was I like the characters enough that I was like, okay, what are they going to do? That the blacksmith Mandalorian, I like her as a character. I think
is she always sitting like that though?
Why not?
With her arms crossed, holding her tools, and then for some reason when she goes to
I thought that same thing.
She's always holding her tools,
yeah.
and then she has to go get her tools
Yep.
to do the smithing.
I was like, wait, that's the
I
hammer.
noticed that,
You
yeah.
just had it in your hand. That's the exact same hammer.
Is a little silly. Okay, I enjoyed it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it. It was fine, but it wasn't that good. Okay?
Alan, do you enjoy being contrarian?
No, I enjoy good narrative. So let's get into the nitty gritty, and I'll tell you all the problems that I had. Okay, so we get meatpacking Mando, and he kills a bunch of guys with his darksaber. Now, this was kind of answered later on in the episode, but I really dislike how, in general, Disney Star Wars makes the lightsabers heavy again. This was a problem in the original trilogy because the props that the actors were actually holding in real life were very heavy, and so they moved them like they were heavy swords. It is a problem that was fixed with the prequels, because if you think about it, it is a lightsaber. It weighs nothing, and you can swing it around and do things that you could not do with a sword, and you can do cool moves and spinny things with a lightsaber, and they did a really good job with that in the prequels. There are some of the fight scenes that, if you actually analyze it, like they're not actually trying to hit each other, right? You can critique. It's got its flaws, but they fixed the combat styling. They made it look versatile, and in the Disney, all of the new Disney movies, when they fight with a lightsaber, it's like a claymore. They're like, there's weight to them, and they're like, and
so.
And I get that this lightsaber might be different, but I dislike how that's done in all of the Disney Star Wars.
The Disney Star Wars takes place after the original trilogy, most everything that they've produced. So would it not reasonably logically make sense?
No. If you watch, there's a great...
This one's like unstable. I'm assuming it's the same sensation that you get if you have like a jackhammer or like a hammer drill. So like your hand like vibrates when you're holding it, and it is hard to like point things straight that way. I'm just like, that's my headcanon of how this particular lightsaber works, because it's kind of unstable and feels heavy. But in general, the other lightsabers should not be heavy. Okay.
So there's a little bit tidbit of information that I'll throw down on you, because I know you haven't seen all of the animated shows.
Everything, all of it.
Alan, you cannot do that voice when we are all on your YouTube show to talk about all these nerdy things. You can't do the make fun of.
I just watched more of the Clone Wars with Elliot too.
Yeah.
So.
And I get it. There's so much content. The animated shows just go on forever. But the Rebels TV show, there's a scene specifically with this particular darksaber. Sabine Wren is training with the darksaber, and she's the one who eventually gives it to Bo-Katan that we meet in the Mandalorian season live action.
Who then dooms her planet.
Yeah, because she took it. She was given it to, right?
She didn't earn it in combat.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a scene with her training with that lightsaber with another Jedi, right? And she's not doing very well. She's very clunky with the lightsaber, and he's trying to train her how to use the Force and to use it, whatever. And she has a line that says, when she's getting it down a little bit, she said, "Oh, the blade feels lighter," and he says that's because you're being more in tune with it, or something along that lines. So it's implied. I don't know if it's again just with this lightsaber or all lightsabers in general, that you have to be in tune with the Force in order to be able to wield them properly. Otherwise, it's just a clunky weapon in your hand.
Still doesn't.
The longer you use it.
Okay. It doesn't explain though why Kylo Ren uses his lightsaber like a greatsword.
Because
it's cool.
Trained somewhat.
I don't.
He's a trained Force user.
Yeah. Kyber crystals. I mean, that's a thing that we have in the new Disney series. I don't know if that might be the reason why in Rebels that it is, but like the tendency seems to be that when in a lightsaber, Kyber. Like, I know a little bit about the Star Wars background lore, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason why Sith have red blades, the reason why the Sith have red blades is because they push dark side force energy into that Kyber crystal, and then it becomes corrupted and glows red. And so obviously the components of the lightsaber seem to be sensitive to the force, which is almost making like a sentient weapon out of it. And so I appreciate, David, that you clarify that, why things seem so clunky and so difficult.
Yeah, I accept that there is an explanation for this one in particular, or with Mando using it, but my complaint is also with the other uses in the Disney Star Wars movies.
Yes, but we can leave. There's lots of other issues with the sequel trilogy, so but we can we cannot talk about that.
I'm grateful for the explanation because I wanted to know why.
Real quick, talking about like this sword stuff, like have we talked about the Corridor Crew show that they did that talked about?
No, we haven't talked about it.
The realistic lightsaber battle.
Yeah, the realistic one.
That was cool.
I felt like it wasn't realistic enough.
Really?
Yeah, I really like Corridor. I really felt, but that video in particular, I really felt like they phoned it in.
Really?
I loved the concept. I'm like, oh, finally they're going to do realistic fighting with lightsabers, and they didn't do a lot of things that they should have done.
I think I see what you're talking about, because they did make a lot of mistakes. That
they were still treating them. What they did, they made a realistic sword fight scene. They did not make a realistic lightsaber scene fight.
I think it was realistic lightsaber fight. I think I do agree, though, they made a lot of the similar blunders that they do in typical fight choreography, but every time that they did that, the guy ended up dying and losing the fight, and then they circumvented that with the revival machine. So I appreciated that. Every time they made an issue, they're like, "Oh, that's not how you should fight with the sword or with the lightsaber." They're like, "Oh, yep, he's dead because he made that mistake." Telegraphing his moves, doing fancy spinning tricks or flourishes.
They were also treating them in that video. They were also treating them like they were too heavier than they should be.
Okay. Well, maybe.
Alan,
again, lightsabers are not real. I'm sorry.
That was the entire point. That was the entire point of that episode. Is they're like people don't, these are fictional weapons, and they should be making fight scenes about how fictional they are. And I don't think that they delivered. I love Corridor. I don't think they did that video very well. I love the concept.
Okay,
wasn't satisfying.
Well,
because I thought it was successful. I like Dave, you were saying. I think they showed, how it was. They were killed because
lightsabers shouldn't be heavy.
But at the same time,
did you make this universe? Did you create Star Wars?
No, but I was personally trained by.
Actually, no. Here's a thought, though. Here's a thought, because
by Dave Filoni. Okay. He told me all about lightsabers.
And he was personally trained by George Lucas.
My dad works at LucasArts.
No, wait. Okay, but here's a question.
My dad could beat up your dad.
Because, for example, let's see, where was it? So it was in this Mandalorian scene. So when he gives it over to the blacksmith, right? Like she turns it on and she kind of like gets pushed back, right? So that could maybe explain that a little bit too.
For this lightsaber.
Well, I know, I know, but
not for a Jedi.
But potentially, what I'm trying to get at is that to cause a light beam like this to happen, right? There's probably going to be some sort of force that's being projected, and so it is going to be difficult to control, right? It's not just going to be, hey, I've got like this wand in my hand, because there's going to be some sort of forces that are pushing back that you've got to be able to resist and have the strength with your hand to resist that. Right. So I could see how potentially with that, even with this sort of light emittance, that they would have to control that a little bit more. And that may cause, some heavier movements in that case.
The prequels. Okay, so
You're talking about fully trained Jedi that
I'm
were
talking about
when the Jedi Order was still a thing.
I'm talking about taking
like
your
flossing with
lightsaber.
the
I'm talking about taking your lightsaber to a rave and just
Lightsaber juggling.
I liked how fluid it was in the prequels, and I don't like how heavy they are in the sequels.
It's an interesting idea.
Okay, so back in the meat packing plant, the prosthetics in the show are a mixed bag. Half of them look really good, and half of them look terrible. A bunch of the workers in the meat packing plant just look like pugs, and I was just like, "What is this?"
Well, isn't that the creature, like the species? Because that's kind of what I've been gathering.
But
with
not all of them looked terrible. Some of them, I'm like, this looks good, and then like four of them in the group of big just looked like pugs, and I was just like, so were these genetically bred so that they couldn't breathe through their noses, like chosen specifically to have a squished face? If you don't know, that's how pugs were made. They can't breathe. It's not a great thing to do to your dog.
Oh, that's why they've always got their mouth open. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's literally it. They're mouth breathers. It's not a joke.
I know, but it's funny.
It's hilarious that was the intention. Like, hey, I want a dog with a smushed face, and I'm gonna let's take this gene and okay. So then he gets to the Halo or the Citadel from Mass Effect, or what is this place called? What is it called?
Ringworld.
Ringworld?
Oh,
I don't know if it has a name.
It's cool. I really like it. I just don't know what it's called. I wish they would have said like, what's the name of the city?
Okay, here's another side tangent. Apparently, they're making a live-action movie of Halo as well.
It's a TV show.
I was going to say it's actually not a movie; it's a TV show. But
it's a TV show, and I've heard some troubling things from the production, but it could be good.
Anyway,
Could be good.
Yeah. Why don't we
terrible.
Save that conversation for another time?
Yep. I just wanted to sidetrack us again,
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I really like the aesthetics of that world and how the shot that they had where they zoomed in and then it looked like the lights on the ring were stars at one point. It was really well done.
It looked fantastic. I really liked it. I just want to know what it's called.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like the air of mystery of it. We're just thrown into with Mando, and
really cool.
I mean, a lot of people are like, "Why do we need subtitle? Why can't we just?" It's just a little space station city.
Yeah.
And then I like that it showed Mando trying to not show like weakness.
Mm-hmm.
But like it could have been a little bit nicer to like his potential / current employers. And they're like, come stay for dinner. We have another job for you. He's like, piss off.
Yeah. Well,
but then afterwards, he's like, oh, my leg. I'm like, maybe you could have sat down, then you wouldn't have had pressure on your leg. At least hurt him out, like.
Yeah, but I also kind of got the vibe that he was just doing this job to find out where Mandalorian tribe is. So he didn't really care about the bounty. He just wanted to know where
sense. Sure.
he was. So.
But to another point too. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Dave. You can finish your thought.
Did you notice that this entire scene was basically one long take?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he walked in there and they're using, their projection mapping thing. And then they go into the elevator. And while he's in the elevator, they have to change out the entire set. And then he comes out of the elevator.
To push a button, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the background is just projected, so you can change that immediately. But everything in the scene,
they use the medium well.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was very well done.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say that this it scenes like these with the Mandalorian where I'm like, this is Boba Fett. Like this just should be what Boba Fett is, where he's like, I don't care. Like I don't care about the bounty. No, I'm not going to do another job. Like,
oh, you mean the opening scene where he just like kills everyone? Yeah,
right.
That felt like what Boba Fett should have been, and
Yeah.
kind of less what Mando should have been.
Yeah, well,
Mando
I'm
Mando
happy
was
it is
kind of the
because-
one that wanted like respect, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the whole time I was watching the show, I was like, this should just be how Boba Fett is, where his mask is on the whole time. We don't need to see his bald face. Like his mask is intimidating, and he's intimidating. He doesn't care. Like he's just there to get whatever done, whatever. Like that should be Boba Fett, and we're not seeing that at all.
Yeah. Another thing too is as soon as Mandalorian walks in, my wife is like, "Oh, this show is already so much better." And starts doing this thing. And another thing, that's the thing. I thought this episode was really, really good, but it kind of makes me sad that the rest of the show is not that good.
Yeah.
And it was immediate. As soon as Mando walked in and they did the title sequence, and it was Boba Fett, and then they meshed the Boba Fett songs with
the music was really done well.
It was done very well, but it also made me notice
Depressed.
how much better the Mandalorian theme is.
Yeah.
Yes.
The theme music in Mandalorian is just amazing. It's like it gets stuck in your head. I'm whistling it all throughout the day. But the Boba Fett music,
the Boba Fett song has a really good undertone.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. It's an undertone. It's not the
It's
melody
not
of the
it's
song.
Not the melody.
And it's not great.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with not just with the music, but with the characters and everything. It's just Boba Fett is just not. He's underperforming in every other way.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But then we get the Mandalorian using the stairs instead of his jetpack. He's got this, I'm like, use your jetpack, man. Like he almost falls down the stairs. I'm like, just push a button on your back. Like slumps at the bottom.
That would have been funny if he. That would have been funny if he kind of stumbled a little bit. He's like, "Oh, forget it," and just put jetpacks down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They always forget about their jetpacks, and that's a problem in the Mandalorian too. Not just in Boba Fett.
Yeah.
They never use them for any reason.
Same thing with his disintegration rifle or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Like he used it in the one scene, and then he never has it again. Or like,
yeah.
You
Same with.
You have an awesome weapon
I liked their vibration knives that
apparently
every Mandalorian has now, and it's never come up until this episode. It's a really cool thing. Why haven't we seen them yet?
Because the show creators hadn't seen the new Dune movie yet. And didn't get inspired to have those knives. Like it was pretty much the knives from Dune.
Well, it was the opposite because it was the shields from Dune put into a knife. The fast moving blade penetrates the person. So that was a really clever joke.
I did like. I liked that as soon as the Darksaber turned up, there was immediately conflict to be like, I'm challenging you. Even though there's only like 3 of them in their tribe left. And, there's like this succession challenge. I like that.
I liked it, but there was a problem with it. So he shows up and he said, and the other guy says, there are only 3 of us now. Was he including Mando in that? Or are there 4?
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure. It sounded like he was saying there's only 3 of us left and you're in a different group. But so there's literally only like 3 Mandalorians left on Earth.
No.
And
just in their sect of Mandalorians.
Yeah, of the religious ones. It seems like that's something you'd want to preserve. And I didn't have a problem with the challenge over the blade until they took their jetpacks off. And I'm like, there's only 3 of you left, guys.
Yeah. Not only that, but once he gets the the blade.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to kill you. Like, what? You just have to defeat him in combat. You don't have to kill him. You still get it if you defeat him in combat.
Yeah, I had a pretty big problem with that. I'm like, because they'd already showed him falling off and then using his jetpack to come back up. I'm like, why? So this is clearly taking him off represented. This is a to the death kind of duel. Why would you do one of those if there's only 3 of you left?
Yeah.
I liked the exposition. Okay, as much as it's not great narratively, I enjoyed it because it was interesting exposition. It still could have been done better, but it was quick and it gave a lot of relevant exposition. It wasn't just world building exposition. It was, this is stuff that you need to know because all of these pieces are in play now, and you need to know what they do. And so it was good.
By the way, the
Night of a Thousand Tears looked beautiful.
Exactly, and that's something that hardcore Star Wars fans have been wanting to see on the screen for years.
It was gorgeous. It was like an oil painting.
Yeah, it was really well done.
I agree, and definitely tragic. The whole time you're just like, oh.
I mean, it was short. I would have liked to see some Mandalorians fighting, before they just went scorched earth on the entire planet. But
I liked it. I liked that it was.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean, because 3 more seconds of Mandalorians fighting before that.
Well, but the thing, David, I don't know if this is attached to the lore or not, but like, if I'm gonna kill a bunch of Mandalorians, like, I don't want to get anywhere near them, right? So
that's true.
So I was like, that exposition made sense to me because I was like, oh yeah, they're just bombing the crap out of them because they're like, oh yeah, hey, we're here, like, we're taking you guys out. So
the Mandalorians were a threat to the Empire's power, right? So they took them out.
Yeah, that scene was done really well. It looked gorgeous, and I loved that. That was definitely the best part of the episode. Yeah. And then they make Grogu some mithril armor. But also, that was a pretty big spear and a very small bag. Like, I hope that there's some
leftovers,
Beskar left over, right?
I mean, it looked like she just heated the tip and used that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Well, the other thing that was strange. The other thing that was strange, though, is she's heating up this tip, right? And then she's pounding it with the hammer, like.
And then the next scene is circles, ringlets.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they cut stuff in there, but why use the hammer on the spear if you're just going to melt it down? And
the actual blacksmithing of that scene didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
but I liked that he's making him some little armor.
Yeah.
And then they explain the blade. It gets heavier. I get it. I take the jetpacks off. There were so many headbutts in that fight scene. A lot of headbutting. And then my note.
Beskar cranium covering,
Yeah.
Use what you got.
Yeah. And then my note is like, why would there's only 3 of you left? Why is this a to the death? Like, this is not the way, guys. And it made less sense because they just, like, minutes ago they had just said, they just talked about the way. They said, if Grogu was sent to the Jedi, he has to reject emotional attachment. And he's like, wait a second, that's the opposite of what we do as Mandalorians. We value loyalty and attachment. That's the exact opposite of what Jedis do. And then the next scene, they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah,
right. And
it
that's
didn't make sense.
I agree.
Did you catch that? I forget the name of the big brute character, but it's something Vizsla. It's the same name as the family of Mandalorians that had claimed ownership over the Darksaber. The very first Mandalorian.
He said that his grandfather made it.
Right. Yeah, so he thinks he has, ancestral claim to the.
I'm fine if you want to do a challenge, but to the death, like that does not seem like the way to me.
Yeah.
Especially since there's only 3 of you left.
Well, to be honest, I felt like because they were setting it up, right? Like you brought up, Tanner, that it felt kind of weird as soon as they brought out the saber. And so I was like, okay, they're setting it up for a challenge. But at the same time, as soon as that challenge came, I was like, okay, this kind of feels a little out of place. I agree though that I like the reason behind it kind of makes sense too. Like, hey, like, you know, this was my grandfather's blade. Like I want to reclaim it or whatnot. But at the same time, it felt out of context.
The reason that they did it to the death was cheap. It was to introduce an element of danger, fully knowing that they were going to have the blacksmith come in and stop him at the last minute. And it was cheap.
I agree with you on that.
Well, I think actually the special effects used in this episode were probably quite expensive.
They were probably they spent the most money on this episode, hands down, no question about it, and it doesn't even have Boba Fett in it.
Although I did too like the when he's practicing with the blade with the armorer, he says, you know, you've got to you're fighting the blade, you've got to work with the blade, you've got to you know, I forget the exact words, but she said, "Don't fight the blade," and that's exactly what Paz Vizsla does. Whatever his name is,
yes,
John Favreau's character. You can see him; he's trying to fight the blade, and then Mando comes in, and you know, death of 1,000 cuts type of thing, and just keeps stabbing him everywhere between his armor. So,
yeah.
I thought
the other thing is. With that particular scene, I liked how it kind of shows that he doesn't have a lot of training in, like, you know, a lightsaber,
right?
Which is, I mean, makes sense, right? Because they don't have them as Mandalorians; they don't have lightsabers.
He uses guns.
Yeah, right. So I like that exposition part too, because it was like, oh yeah, like you're not a trained Jedi, so the fact that you can pick this up and then automatically start swinging around and destroying everybody, like that wouldn't make sense. So yeah, I really appreciated that they showed that part for sure. Even though the challenge later I did feel was a little rushed and out of place, but I'm still excited for that black lightsaber, that dark saber. I'm like, that's gonna be dope.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, the CGI on it was very well done. It's exactly what I imagined it from the animated and the comics and everything.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And also after that, I thought it was it kind of makes sense too that they brought up the whole thing about the helmet, right? Because
I'm really glad they brought it up.
Yeah, and because he's held accountable, right? Like the whole seasons in Mando, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. And I mean, obviously they showed this sort of struggle for him to actually do that, or whether or not he should. But yeah, I actually appreciated that they brought that into this one, and they're like, "Oh well, okay, bye. Like, you're done. You're not really a Mando anymore." So,
well, and I like the idea he has to go, you know, get baptized on Mandalore to, you know, regain his honor or whatever. I think that's a cool setup. Yeah. Except that he gets interrupted. And Fennec asks him to help, and I was like, "No, go do the cool thing instead of hanging out with Boba Fett."
Yeah.
Well, obviously, the cool thing is going to be Mando season 3. That's going to be the premise of, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to save the cool stuff for the cooler show.
Yeah.
So sad.
But then
he leaves. Want to talk about the second half now?
He takes the train to Tuscany. And
can I? Yeah, I loved the Easter egg of the Star Tours robots being in charge of the public transit.
Yeah, that was fun.
Great little just. Oh yeah, that's like.
Yeah,
I really like that.
Where are they from?
So the Star Tours ride at Disneyland. Now if you go, it's C-3PO driving the little ship that you go on, but. Originally, it was a robot animatronic that was designed specifically for the ride.
Okay.
And the character was called Rex in the ride. And
he's still in Disney World in the cantina now. I think he's the DJ.
Well, that's cantina. The thing. They actually have him in. They've had him in this show a couple times already.
Yeah.
Really? I missed it.
Yeah, he's in the brothel place. So
Yeah, there's another one.
Oh,
of
I
them,
think
too.
I
Yeah.
did see him, but I just because the Star Tours thing was like this was a company that you got on a shuttle to go tour planets and see things.
Yeah.
Makes sense that this robot would be what they're using for
Cool.
That was a fun
like
little nod.
an airplane. Yeah.
And I liked that the one on Tatooine was a little bit glitchy and broken down. It was cool.
Yeah.
Whereas the one in the Ring World planet was,
Nice.
nice and pristine. But anyway,
Well, we get a classic carrying too many weapons scene.
yeah. I don't think it was overdone though. It wasn't like
good.
they didn't do the thing like,
funny.
is that all your weapons? Oh, okay, I'll pull out more. It was sentimental. It's like I'm giving these up.
It's a good trope. Yeah, and
it's a good trope, but it wasn't overplayed.
It was used well because it had weight. He's like, it's part of my religion. I don't do it.
Exactly.
But we've already seen, he's willing to
take his helmet off
shortcuts
for his religion,
in his religion just for Grogu, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then we get to Tatooine.
It gets a little silly.
But here's the thing, Amy Sedaris. So whenever Amy Sedaris is in there, I'm like, this is gonna be great. I love Amy Sedaris.
No. It's awful. She's the worst character.
I hate her character.
Well, I've seen some of her other stuff, and maybe
bad.
that's why I'm so excited.
No,
but
it's really bad. It's not quite as bad as the first season.
Over the top, and
the
scene they started off with she's getting pulled under by an alien, and it's like slapstick and just dumb.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so stupid.
What is going on? He's chewing me. He's chewing me. I'm like, oh please.
Who is she talking to? Who is she talking to in the scene? Like it's
the droids.
It literally felt like she was cheating out and talking to a stage audience. It felt like a high school play again, and I was like, "I'm explaining the plot that's going on. You can't see it because he's under the table, but there was a monster here chewing on my leg." Like,
I agree. Yeah, that was bad.
I liked it. Yeah.
I liked it just because we got a little bit more Jawa lore out of her. Because it's always been.
Oh, that was funny too. Yeah,
that was cringy. That was cringy.
What the Jawas are, and then we got
what lore?
I
she
dated a
Jawa. At first, I thought it was she was making a joke, and then she repeats it 4 times. And it's like, oh, that's a serious line. She wasn't just trying to make a joke. She actually dated a Jawa.
That's funny.
It's not funny.
I think it's hilarious.
I think it's funny too. I just don't think it.
I hate her screen presence.
Well, I was also impressed that she was actually able to speak it. Like that stuff seems tough. Like,
oh, it's awful. I did enjoy the building montage. It got better after that, but
is that supposed to be the BD unit from Fallen Order?
Yeah, I noticed that too.
No, it's a different one. It's the same droid type, but it's not the same one.
Yeah, but they hadn't even had them in this really universe at all until.
I think knowing Dave Filoni, it's probably the same one from Fallen Order. Because he does that a lot. Just, hey, this is that character. But
I mean, there's lots of different droids and droid models.
I know.
Yeah, R2D2
I did like
is
seeing
an
it.
R2 unit.
Right.
Yeah.
So
not every protocol droid is C-3PO either. There's lots of protocol droids going around everywhere.
And yet, C-3PO just keeps popping up in weird cameos.
That's true.
That's true. So you think you're making a point here, and it's just proving mine. No, I just don't love the hey, remember this? Hey, remember that? But it's and that's all the rest of this episode was.
Right.
Did they give him a ship from Naboo? Because most of those are like all chrome.
Yeah,
they're all silver, just like.
Just
I was like,
yeah.
I know. Oh, this is one of the yellow ones, but then they buffed it out so that it was all silver.
Yep.
I just kept thinking of
I did the same thing.
Amidala's ship, and I was like, oh well, that's a perfect match for Mandalorian. I guess it's on theme.
Yeah. I like that. I think it's a cool nod, but it's not really conductive for a bounty hunter.
Bounty
right?
hunting? Yeah, right.
Where's he going to put his cargo? I mean, he's got a little small pod that's
they gave him
sized, right?
The small pod is for Grogu.
Exactly.
Where is he going to keep his bounties?
Exactly.
Well, but here's the thing, though, because I was thinking that too. But the question I would like to raise then is,
but you
is
know they're going
keep
to have a
bounty
shot
hunting?
with Grogu in the back, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, they probably will. Yeah.
Okay, what's your
But
question?
is he going to keep bounty hunting, right? Because
I
he's
don't
no
think so.
longer a Mando, right? So
I guess he's going to be the king of Mandalore now, and not need to bounty hunt.
yeah, right. So I mean, that's there's lots of questions like that. He's got the dark saber now, right? Are they going to do?
I guess if we interpret the scene from this show the way that you interpret it, he doesn't care about bounties anymore. He was just doing it to find people. Sure.
Yeah, he just doesn't
That
want
could
to
be
sit
it.
on a stupid cruiser every time.
That's exactly how I took it too. But I did think it was funny that she proposed a ship that didn't have any cargo capacity
agree.
at whatsoever to a known bounty hunter.
Well, but at the same time, he's like, so when you find a Razorback, you're gonna let me know, right? Like
Razor Crest, yeah.
Yeah, Razor Crest.
And
Razorback is a pig.
I didn't hate the scene. I liked that they were treating it like he calls it an antique, and he kind of treating it like an old muscle car, you know.
Yeah.
It just went on for so long, and the combustion booster joke was like, hey, you remember this piece of garbage that was in that one scene in the trash compactor? Well, it turns out that was an important thing. And I'm just like, do we care? Like,
I thought it was fun.
It was just a low.
I liked it. I like the imagination involved with it, and it inspired my imagination, and that's what I think I liked. And it also, I frankly, I saw that it could have been like, all right, well, okay, fix it up, whatever, and they could have just skipped really quick. But I really like the.
Yeah, we got.
I think
now
it
this
adds
is pod
some
racing
realism to it. Yeah.
Yeah. We got the pod racing scene, and then going back up and seeing the same kid in the spaceship. It was fun. I just think that the actual building scene just went on a little bit too long. Just because especially because there wasn't really anything substantial happening in this episode. There's just been so much time, getting upgrades. He gets some upgrades with the blacksmith, and then he gets some upgrades on his ship, and it just felt like meandering, and I enjoyed it because of the nostalgia, but just like narratively, it just like wasn't much there.
I agree. It probably went on a little too long, but I did enjoy it, and I did like the nod, to that, back to the trash compactor scene. Those are the kind of fan service that I enjoy. It's just giving a little bit, a little taste of extra lore for something that didn't mean much in the original. It's just a piece of trash, and like, oh no, it's a part of the ship. But another good example is in the original trilogies, there's an extra that carries around an ice cream maker that's painted white. You guys know the story?
Yeah.
And it's kind of become a meme within Star Wars, and we're just speculating on what it is. And they answered that in The Mandalorian. It was
carrying the Beskar
credits. Beskar credits or whatever. And I thought that was great. It's just a little wink and a nod. It's like, oh, remember this thing that barely shows up in this thing? Oh, this is what it's for. And they didn't dwell on it a long time. It was just a little wink and a nod, and they moved on. That's the kind of fan service that I like.
I think it would have been fine with me. The reason why it bugged me so much is because nothing happened in this episode. If it was mixed in with an actual plot, I would have been fine with it. It wouldn't have stood out. But it just felt to me like the entire episode was that. And I feel like I enjoyed the episode because it made me nostalgic. but nothing happened, and I feel like, especially online, people are giving this episode like way more praise than it actually deserves. People are saying like, "Oh, give Bryce Dallas Howard an Oscar for, you know, like make her give her own." And I'm like, it's really not that good. It was only good by comparison, you know. Like,
no,
like
I disagree. She did so much. It's just the
she
the
also directed.
cinematography.
She also directed one of the worst episodes of The Mandalorian.
No, I disagree. Let's see. She directed the one with when we first meet Cara Dune.
Yes,
and,
that one was
and
good.
They take out the Walker, right? That one
and
was
then
really
in
good.
the one she directed in season 2 was terrible.
Prison? Are you talking about the prison, Alan?
She directed the
No,
one
no,
where
no.
she directed the episode where they're with Bo-Katan and they have to do the stealth thing onto the ship, and it was terrible.
I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was pretty good. There were
hated
issues
that
with
episode.
it, but I enjoyed that episode quite a bit. I thought she's done a fine job on all of her episodes. That one with the Mandalorian heist was probably the least well that she's done. But Alia, I think she's done a fine job on all of them. I think her praise is
yes.
is well
I think she's done fine. I don't think it was good.
Hey, this one was good.
passable.
This one was good. It was
wasn't,
so
though.
well. No, it was so well done on a from a technical.
I can admit that I
aspect,
enjoyed
from a
something that
aspect.
technically wasn't good.
No, it was good. You're objectively wrong.
Well,
I fully admit I enjoyed the episode, but like it's just
I think as
not
far
good
as
writing.
story goes, there's some things that were lacking, but I think that it wasn't that bad. I really enjoyed it, and there were these nods that I thought were really nice and all of that. But I do agree with you, Alan, that we probably didn't need as much time on things like the building of this ship, right?
Or even half of it.
Yeah, like we could have told more of the story of what he's trying to do, like what is he trying to accomplish in the future, or maybe they're trying to wait and do that for the actual Mandalorian season. I don't know.
But how does he even know where Grogu is?
Yeah, I don't know, and maybe that's where he's like, hey, I've got to find him, right? Like I don't know where he is, but I've got to find out where he is. See, so I mean, because it shows him taking it out a couple times, right? So he's like taking it out and he looks at it. So maybe he's thinking, okay, like how am I going to find him? How am I going to reconnect with him? Because I got to give this to him, right? He says, hey, I want to see him again. So maybe that's part of it. But so that's the thing, right? I think they're doing some of these little things to tell the story, but they probably could have used the time a little bit better in some of the instances. For example, we were talking about the fight scene, right? Like I felt like the fight scene was a little rushed, to be honest. So why not spend a little bit more time on that fight scene and the challenge? Sure. That's important, and not as much on the building of the ship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. I agree.
Or, they could have given the exposition about the blade while they're practicing with the blade so that it's engaging. Like, you must learn, if you use it with hate, it'll be the downfall of you. And it could be symbol, like he's... and then he learns to use it, and like there's better ways to give exposition. This episode could have been executed so much better.
So I agree. I think it was good. I think we've all enjoyed it, right? Especially in comparison. But I think there could have been some things that maybe were done differently that could have made it better.
The other question I have...
The episode's perfect. Yeah. But I thought it was pretty darn amazing.
The other question it brings up, though, is it doesn't feel like a lot of time has passed between this episode and the last episode of Mandalorian Season 2. And he's already, like, missing Grogu. Like, but he can't have been gone for very long.
Well, that is not established how long.
Yes, but he's except that it is because he's barely finding his group. Seems like that would have been the first thing he did.
Well, I mean, it could have taken a while
it just doesn't
for him to find out where they are.
Ship was gone.
But yeah, his ship was gone. But you are right, Alan, because he does just from the Boba Fett side of things. He goes. Boba Fett goes to Tatooine right after episode
like it's been like
season 2 of The Mandalorian ends.
It's been like maybe a month.
Yeah.
And like you sent him away so that he could train. I get it. Maybe do all these other things, get your ship and find your people and do all that, and then say, now it's probably time. But like he starts the episode off and his only desire is, I gotta go find this thing that we just barely separated.
Well, I mean,
that's what it felt like to me.
Clearly says that though, because I mean, for example, this bounty, it kind of seems like he was finding this bounty to find out where these Mandalorians were, right? So he'd probably have to do a couple of those. It's not like that's the only bounty that he had to do,
right?
Plus, he doesn't have his Razor Crest anymore, so he's got to take the cruisers, right?
2 months tops.
Hey, 2 months and not seeing somebody that you care about—that's a long time too.
Yeah, it's also not enough time to train.
You're right.
He sent him away so that he would be safe and he could train. Like,
so I have a question for you.
Hey, I just need to get him in armor.
What's your question?
I got to get him armor first.
He needs his mithril.
So obviously, Mando's gonna go, find Grogu, given his little Beskar mithril armor.
Yeah,
and then he's gonna come back for the season finale and help Boba Fett overthrow the Pikes or whatever. Do you think we're going to see Grogu in Book of Boba Fett season 1, or if they're going to save it for Mando?
I mean, I don't know how much time has passed. If it's been years, which wouldn't make any sense, then yes, Grogu's going to show up and use force powers to kill some Pikes at the end of this episode. If it's been a month, then I don't know.
Yeah, I really hope we don't see him.
I don't think. I don't think.
Yeah, sorry, Tanner. I didn't let you.
No, answer. I don't think they'll. They will use that bullet. They're going to save that for more emotional impact.
Okay,
I agree. I hope.
Who are they going to bring in to cameo for the final episode?
I think Pedro Pascal.
They're going to cameo. I think they're going to cameo someone else because that's like the only trick up their sleeve.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see.
Is it going to be Cal Kestis? Is it actually BB from the game?
Maybe, but that
then he'd be old.
That introduces an issue I have with that game.
I could see him bringing in like Bosk or Dengar. Some of the other
Bosk would be interesting though, because Bosk and Chrysanthemum, of course, they're Wookiee and Trandoshan, which don't ever mix well, but they also had some beef. I think Bosk has had beef with both Chrysanthemum and Boba Fett before, so that might be interesting to see how that plays out.
I
don't know. They might maybe Cad Bane, but he's. I don't know.
I think they're going to bring in Jabba the Hutt's Jabba the Hutt's burlesque alien dancer, who's only in the remastered version of episode 6. The the awesome Cantina song that was replaced with the with the proboscis mouth. You know what I'm talking about. How does that song go? I just listened to it. But... Yeah, I think she's going to show up. I think she's going to show up because she was just in an episode of the Clone Wars that I watched, and she kills Zero.
I don't remember.
Boba Fett's nephew. So she's going to show up. She's going to show up, and she's going to be with the Pikes. She's going to have a Pike boyfriend. And then Boba Fett's going to be like, I can't kill a woman. That's not respectful. And then she's going to stab him in the back. And then he's going to relapse and become cool again. So.
And then he's got to go back into his back to tank. Yeah, okay.
No, the back to tank. No. And then he'll have flashbacks to when he was in Jabba's palace. And
Yeah.
he had a secret romance with the alien. And so you get some of their backstory where they're like, oh, we can't. I'm promised to Jabba and Jabba alone. Oh, no, she actually had a relationship with Zero, Jabba's nephew. So she's like, I'm promised to Zero, even though he sent me away and banished me and sent me to Jabba's palace. We cannot. This is a forbidden love. And then they kiss through her proboscis lips, and it's very scarring, which is why he has to relive those intimate moments through his back to tank flashbacks.
Yeah. That
Is
makes sense.
is episode 6 the last one? Do we know how many
No, but
episodes they're doing?
there's 2 more episodes.
2 more episodes.
Okay.
So I'm betting this next episode is going to be the training episode, right? There's going to be shots of Boba Fett trying to ride the Rancor and being thrown off.
And Mando's not in it. He's showing up for the finale.
Sorry, not Mando. Sorry, there's going to be shots of Boba Fett
You said
trying to
Boba Fett.
raid the Mando. Oh, did
I
I?
was just adding in that Mando's not going to be
Oh
in
yeah,
this.
yeah.
He's going to come back
Mando's
for
not in the
finale.
next episode. And shots of the Power Ranger gang, practicing with their cybernetics and
Is he gonna? He's gonna have them. He's gonna have them practice jumping between speeders.
Yes. and then the next episode, Mando's gonna show up and there's gonna have a big massive showdown with the Pikes, and he's gonna ride his Rancor into town and wreck some fools.
Is there a face behind the Pikes, or is it just Pikes that we can kill?
I think for now it's just Pikes, and then we might find out in a stinger or something.
We'll get the exact same stinger from the end of Solo.
Yeah,
you just see Darth Maul in a holocron. And they literally just reuse the same footage from Solo. That's doable, right?
Yeah,
what does he say? I got to look up the dialogue from that scene.
He said, "At last, our time has come.
Guys, maybe
that will be revealed." Oh no! Wait! That's the wrong episode.
Well, maybe that's who it is, though. Maybe they bring Darth Maul into it.
Maybe, I don't know. He's real old at this time.
Hey, but they've been.
He's not.
No. Yeah, he's dead.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, he's dead. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Shame on me. Oh my goodness.
I think because he's killed in the Clone Wars or something like that.
But it could be Crimson Dawn. It could be Kira.
He's killed in Rebels.
Yeah,
he's killed by Obi-Wan.
So before the original trilogy happens. So yeah, he's officially dead.
Okay.
Shame on me for not knowing that. And it's before. It's Obi-Wan is still on Tatooine.
Okay, so is it going to be? It's going to be Darth Maul's brother then?
Savage is dead too.
Savage is dead. Okay, I haven't gotten there yet. Okay.
Oh, spoilers!
I just got to the episode where they made him, and I was like, oh, he's just Darth Maul too.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, we'll have Han Solo, but not Harrison Ford. Han Solo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Han Solo.
Him smuggling stuff for the Pikes after they have a baby, and he's like, "I can't be a dad."
Right, like what?
Gotta go smuggle.
He's helping smuggle the spice because the spice must flow.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we could have a stinger that Crimson Dawn is behind it, and it's Kira that's taken up the mantle of that, or something.
Oh man, I just found the dialogue too. He could have said, "Bring the ship and come to me on Dathomir. You and I will then decide what to do about the traitor," and then just take his name away because it's Beckett. He's the guy who dies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, he's dead. Hey, they brought him back from the dead before, though, right?
I was gonna say that's what I was gonna say. Like he died before, so.
Yeah, but he's pretty dead.
He gets chopped in half the other way, though.
He doesn't get chopped in half, though. But he does die in Obi-Wan's arms.
Straight down the middle. He should have fallen apart.
Filleted him the other direction.
That's what happened, but it didn't happen because it's Disney,
Yeah.
Ain't nothing some Bacta and some flashbacks can't fix.
Learn one thing from Boba Fett. Nothing that back to can't fix.
Okay, so if Maul is in a back to tank, what are his flashback scenes?
Well, you got to have a flashback of him with the spider legs.
Oh yeah.
We never had explained
legs,
how
Maul.
how we got those spider legs. So that would be my thing. He comes across some Jawas on that junk planet.
Okay, but he has
they fashion him some spider legs.
What's his Tusken Raider lover equivalent?
It's a Jawa.
It's a Jawa?
Yeah, it's a Jawa on that junk planet.
Okay.
Or some scavenger.
He just starts That's how he gets his legs. Oh, okay. So it's the Jawas, right? And he learns to respect their culture because they're scavengers and they help him build his spider legs, right? And then there's a lady Jawa who tries to fight, but he just gets his butt handed to him because he's not used to fighting with no legs yet. Okay. And then he gets them all killed. Those are the Jawas that Mando kills in season 1.
I love these connections. Yeah, it's all making sense now. Full circle. Yep.
Yeah.
That's great.
I make fun of it. Just I feel like that is Dave Filoni's crutch. He really likes bringing in crossover characters that really don't add to the plot, but it's just to say, hey, this person's still. I mean, it happened in Mando season 2 a lot. So,
yep.
I mean, what did Ahsoka add to the show at all?
Got Grogu's name.
Oh, we know his name now. So that
they couldn't just keep calling him Baby Yoda.
Yoda.
I thought that was a real mistake for Disney to end the first season of Mandalorian and we didn't know his name, just from a marketing standpoint, that was not a good call.
Yeah. You can't sell toys of Baby Yoda, but it's not actually Yoda as a baby. It's just a baby from his same species. The child?
Yes, the child. We'll call him that.
Yeah, you can't sell toys without a name, right?
Exactly.
Grogu. So I liked this episode. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like the next two. Maybe the finale will be good.
The finale I'm looking forward to. This next one that's inevitably going to be a training montage. I'm not looking forward to it, man.
Which we already got like 2 whole episodes of this season.
Yeah, exactly. Training with the Tusken Raiders and yeah.
Okay, so does she show back up though? Because it's confirmed that she didn't die. Her body wasn't there. The female Tusken Raider.
Oh, yeah, I think so, probably. Although, if she wasn't there, why wouldn't he go looking for her?
Yeah, I know. That's why I thought she was there. But
and it would be awkward for her to just like show up at the cantina. Be like,
exactly.
Hey, what's that?
It's like, oh yeah, how does Tusken get into town? Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Maybe in season 2, if they do a season 2 of Boba Fett, he crosses paths with her again. And like, oh, you're not dead.
Or I think she is also Darth Maul's flashback lover. And then we get a classic love triangle. Just what you want to have.
That's what his reasoning is.
Yeah.
They both found out they like the same girl, and so they're trying to fight over the same girl.
No, guys. What if the Tusken Raider, female ninja parkour, awesome lady, what if her name, strong female character, what if her name in Tusken translates to respect? He wants to rule with respect.
Wow.
It all makes sense, guys. It all makes sense. I'm calling it now.
Okay.
Mic drop.
Anyway,
I'm done.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to say.
I'm
I'm
tired.
kind of just along for the ride at this point. with
Yeah,
these
I'm like,
last
we
two
haven't heard a
episodes.
lot of stuff from Tanner lately, so we're too much into speculation, I guess. And he's
Yeah, well,
The problem is we have no idea where the show is headed.
Yeah.
So it's all speculation. It's like it has not been set up well. This has been fun though. Thanks for coming on the show, and I guess we will all see each other next week, talking about Mandalorian episode 6 and 3 more episodes of the Vox Machinas.
You're dropping another 3?
I think they're doing them in groups of 3. Yeah.
Okay.
I could be wrong. If it's 1, that would be a lot better for content.
Yeah. We shall see.
I just hear your kids shouting in the background.
Sorry.
And did we want to add like 3 more shows to the watch list, or are we good?
Oh, please no. Let's wait for Boba Fett to be over at least.
sorry.
I did. I can't even remember if I told you, Tanner, that I finished watching all of Smash though.
Oh, me too, actually.
It was good.
Haven't started it yet. It's still on the watch list. But.
it's a fun little 2-day thing, and if you like old Saturday morning cartoons, it's fun.
It was a little upsetting that the cartoons that you started with didn't make it to the end. Like they finished their beats, and I'm like, no, I wanted more episodes. I wanted more episodes of Randy, and but the new shows that they introduce in their stead are very good, and it had a reason to do it too, because it showed how like the TV shows were just evolving, chasing trends. Yeah, and it was hilarious. It was very funny. I loved the 2 brothers one. My less prominent. But why do you keep saying that, man? my less prominent brother. It was a blast. And the stupid throwaway jokes that they've been doing the entire episode with, like, the real life actors actually are relevant by the end, and
yes,
it was masterful. Just like a lot of things you didn't think were going to come together coming together at the end, and it was very pleasant.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what we're going to talk about next after Boba Fett and Vox Machina.
Maybe. Well, there's stuff coming soon. I think Moon Knight is dropping soon.
That looks really good. I don't know a whole lot about Moon Knight. I just know his origin story, basically. I've never read it in his comics, but it's Marvel property. It looks amazing.
I'm interested because of the casting. I'm a fan, but it's on Disney Plus. And I haven't really enjoyed a single Marvel property TV show, so
yeah, I think they've all been okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you next week. Thanks for coming on. It's been a blast. Bye, guys.
Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.